Well, what else can you say? But that game was pretty fun, if I do say so myself. You can describe this game in many, many ways, but OU takes Nebraska's corn, opens up a can of whoop ass in the first road game of the season, and blows open the doors against the Cornhuskers in the first quarter. And unlike Tebow, who played to survive and played down to his opponents, Brent Venables put his foot down and did not let up as we bring home the first W in Lincoln dating back to 2005 as we win 49-14. You can't forget too that this game was on track to be the largest blowout against Nebraska ever in Lincoln, in addition to it being the most points scored in Lincoln. First time head coach to actually beat Lincoln in their first year since Barry Switzer as well, which is scary considering the track run we've had with head coaches, and also knowing that, to be fair, this game could have been a lot worse. Me personally, it's nice to have us take control of the game and do what is expected of us. This is the first time in a long, long, long time that I can remember that both sides of the ball were playing very, very sound football. And, for 2 weeks, I personally was a little bit concerned going up against Nebraska. Not that we shouldn't win, but I was so used to us having to play down to our opponent and then our opponents playing their Super Bowl that we would just regress a bit from the first 2 weeks. I saw a stat as well that stood out to me while watching this game was while under Scott Frost, Nebraska lost the last 6 games by like a combined score of 34 points. When he was fired, they lost by 34 or lost by 35 points today. I guess maybe that's progress at this point, considering they said they didn't want to lose close games anymore. Well, I guess the monkey paw curled on that one. Maybe Nebraska just needed a little more time to defrost from their previous head coach. Okay, fine. I'll move on. Nebraska, there's not really a whole lot to talk about Nebraska as a whole. Thompson was not very good when he went off script, and it showed as our front seven just pressured him all day and made him run for his life a whole lot. When Venables made minor adjustments after that first series, every skill position player just looked lost and confused at that point, and OU capitalized on it on every single drive. OU-wise, it's what I said earlier, both pregame and here. They exercised some demons from the past couple of years since they hadn't won up there in quite some time and just opened up a can of whoop ass on them and whipped them. There was no other way to put it at this point. They took care of business. They took the crowd out early after a small first series hiccup. They opened the playbook up. They got their best guys out there at the same point. The defense came out hungry, and they were not looking ahead to K-State. When you take a look at the numbers, offense-wise, they were spectacular. 268 yards, rushing 312, receiving, totaling up to 580. And if they really kept their foot on the pedal, they could have easily possibly gotten up to 800 yards of total offense. We ran 84 plays. Third down efficiency was much better. If you took out the final score, we had 31 first downs. Play calling was great. Seriously, there are so many highlights that you can get from this game, and I fully expect them on the scoreboard next week against K-State. Even I had some favorites where I jumped off the couch where I cheered with Braden Willis's TD, the Gabriel scramble. Heck, even Theo Weiss getting his touchdown. Those were such great moments. In addition, the O-line also just played great, and they allowed the run to just thrive today. Looking at individual players, Dylan Gabriel, he was okay. He definitely still has room for improvement. He was 17 of 27 for 230 yards and no 2 TDs, but no interceptions. I think that's the big thing is, we've been spoiled by quarterback play so much, but when you look at him as a whole, yes, he's not throwing interceptions, but he's playing okay. So the rest of the talent around him makes up for it. Marvin Mims had himself a day as well, 4 for 66 yards and 6.4 per yard. Theo Weiss got himself a touchdown. It's glad to finally see Theo Weiss really work back into the mix of the play calling. And Eric Gray, I've been harping on Eric Gray for 2 weeks. And in addition to last year, that he has just not been the player. And boy, today, he really must have heard the criticism because he had 11 carries for 113 yards and was averaging a first down every single play and had 2 TDs. Good for you, Eric Gray. I am proud you are proving me wrong, at least in the instance of this game. On the other side of the ball, the defense played aggressive. They were all over the place. They were making sound tackling, and they wanted to make their name known, like the defense is here. They absolutely contained both the run and the passing game. We still only allowed 27 points through the first 3 games. And I want you to think about that of defense appears to be back in Oklahoma at this point. We had 4 sacks on the day, 2 of them coming back to back, which I can't even recall the last time we actually had back-to-back sacks. Concerning the run game, they made sure that Grant was a non-factor, and they took out Allen and Irvin Jones had some more success than Grant, but they are not nearly as talented as Grant is. And even then, they only had some minor success. Concerning the passing, they as a whole also had no impact outside of that. Jared Connect, this was, I believe, his first game, 10 solo tackles after White got ejected. And boy, did he just make his name known for it. I think Deshaun White should be a little concerned. Maybe not, but you can't keep a talent like that on the bench. Like, I really do think he's going to get a starting position at some point. But look at the others as well. Deshaun White had 6 tackles. Key Lawrence, Ethan Downs, Woody Washington made some noise. Billy Bowman keeps increasing. Like, defense is very sound, and it's right now, funny enough, and it's weird to say it still, they are the better unit than the offenses right now. So there is still, with all that said, there is still a tiny bit of room of improvement. There is still stuff going into the next quarter of the season. Dylan needs to, I don't know how I feel on it, because when I say it, then it results in a 61-yard touchdown scramble. But Dylan needs to kind of stop playing hero ball, and he also needs to learn to throw it away. Dylan's throws were also all over the place. There were several throws that could have been TDs or large receptions. He needs some training on this one. I don't know if he was rattled because he was up in hostile territory. Who knows with it, but he needs some practice on that. I also didn't understand the very, very early play calling to put Gray on the bench when he was actually having a lot of success and having Marcus Major in. Maybe it was a little bit just to confuse the defense for it. But in my opinion, if Eric's having the success, keep him in. Don't take him out at that point. But it's just a difference of me versus the actual coach calling it. White obviously got his targeting call. Luckily, he's back against K-State next week. A couple guys got a little bit banged up. And then also special teams, we got to work on that. Punting and kicking are your make or breaks in these close games with it. And missing a field goal like that, we got to practice. We got to practice that. So wrap it up. The first quarter of the season is done. Non-conference play is wrapped up, and you can come home to a very, very rowdy crowd against this Kansas State team as you open up conference play, potentially for the last year in the Big 12. Based on what we saw earlier today, though, I said, like, if all the stars aligned, we would get game day in Norman. But that's not looking like the case now, as K-State just threw up on themselves and lost to Tulane. It makes you question, too, how good this actual K-State team is and how, how much they're going to be a factor against OU. But that aside, you have to still feel good where you're sitting at right now, especially with how healthy the team is. At least to me, it doesn't feel like fool's gold as well. I mean, everything aside, Nebraska is still a Power 5 team. And while they're in a definite slump with the program, they're not a Vanderbilt and they're not a Kansas, and they were completely dismantled at every single skill position. It was like watching Alabama or Georgia with it. It was just that elite of a performance. I don't think it's a stretch to say as well that Nebraska also looked worse against UTEP and Kent State did, even when OU was playing very, very vanilla. But that being said, OU just put on a very dominant performance. I'm very, very, very proud of these guys. And again, you can come home, take a quick breather, and get ready for K-State. So that all said, that's all I have for the recap of this game. I mean, the only last thing I can think of at this point is Coleman is probably going to have to take a hard look of whether he really wants to commit to Nebraska versus OU at this point, especially what you just saw in person. I'm just happy for me personally, for purely selfish reasons. I'm glad I actually got to stay home, watch this game, and recuperate from the past 2 home games, as well as be able to do my recap video during the actual day of the game. Who knew you could do something like that? So anyway, guys, same as always, be sure to tune in tomorrow night, September 18th at 8 o'clock Central Daylight Time with Oni Kuno slash Sean, I cannot speak, /Sean and me for the Nebraska and Week 3 recap. Be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell so you know when we go live or when I upload a video. For me, at this point, I'm going to enjoy the rest of my weekend. I'm going to go back to playing some video games and eating some Rita's Italian ice water, which they just opened in Edmond. And I'm going to enjoy myself a Oklahoma Sooners flavored Italian shaved ice with a little bit of cherry and vanilla custard dessert. So, Boomer Sooner guys, there's only one Oklahoma, and everyone have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'll see everyone tomorrow night.